Here are 5 reasons on why you should get an Apple device and get into the Apple ecosystem. The last one will shock you. What's up guys, here we are in a new video. In this video we are going to be talking about the Apple ecosystem. First things first, you should know all the people using Apple devices are not crazy. They use these devices because it offers them seamless user experience. And I will share with you how. I'm an Apple fan and I'm into the Apple ecosystem. I have 2 iPhones, I have MacBook, I have iPad, I have AirPods, 3rd gen, I have other Apple accessories. And I do work 2 to 3 jobs apart from being a student. So I use my gadgets a lot. And now in this video, I'll be mentioning why you should get into the Apple ecosystem. I know I'm going to get a lot of hate from the Android users, but then this is a normal beef that happens usually between Apple users and Android users. So no problem. Let's dive into it. First things first, quality of the hardware. Because when we talk about the hardware aspect of these Apple devices, it's like the engineers are out of this world. So when you look at Apple devices, from the iPhones to the computers such as MacBooks to the iPads and the AirPods, even though when it comes to the AirPods there are some clones, but when you look at these devices, their design are completely different from their competitors. I mean, these designs are completely different from other tech companies. For example, when you look at the iPhone, there's no smartphone that looks exactly like the iPhone. Maybe some smartphones companies might decide to copy the design in some aspects, but then there's no existing smartphone that looks exactly like the iPhone. The MacBooks look completely different from the other computers, from HP, Acer, and other brands. They are built with different materials, and they all have that nice finish. And same applies to the iPad. But for the AirPods, there are a lot of China companies making AirPods that looks like Apple AirPods. But then an Apple user will be able to identify the original from the fake when it comes to the AirPods, when it comes to the Apple Watch. I believe some of you guys are going to say, yeah, but there are some other tech gadgets or maybe computers or phones that have a much better looking design than the iPhones. Maybe there is. I don't really know. I can't relate to that. But then their designs are really amazing. I like the finishing in each and every Apple product. Secondly, this is one of the most important things and what gets me excited when you're talking about the Apple ecosystem. Integration between devices. How these devices communicate with one another. These devices seamlessly communicate with one another. There are a lot of features in these Apple devices that will make you from getting an iPhone to a MacBook, from a MacBook to an iPad. For example, my dad was using an Android back then, but then he got an iPhone, and from the iPhone he got another iPhone, and from that he got a MacBook, and it got stolen. He have to get another MacBook just because he really likes the way this device interact with one another. Because for somebody who is using a MacBook and then using an Android phone, it will be very hard for his workflow. Same applies to the person who is using an iPhone and using a Windows computer. And what makes this even better is the iCloud. For example, iCloud photos, I can have all my photos across all my devices. I can have all my photos on my Mac, I can have all my photos on my iPad. So I can also have all my documents across these devices, all my notes across these devices. Because sometimes for me, I carry along my iPad and not my MacBook. So when you want a document or a picture, you can just get it on your iPad rather than having to come back home to get your MacBook. And you can also get it on your iPhone. So this is really an amazing move when it comes to the whole ecosystem thingy. Next up, I know I'm also going to get a lot of hate for this, but then iMessage and FaceTime, right? Now we are talking about blue bubbles and green bubbles. So for those who don't know iMessage is basically an Apple platform where you can use to chat and send messages with people who are using Apple devices. For example, a person using an iPhone can use the iMessage, a person using a MacBook or an iPad can use the iMessage. But then if you're using an Android, I can't message you. It doesn't work that way. You'll need to get yourself an iPhone. And we have a lot of messaging or social media platforms that we can send our messages on. But then the user interface for the iMessage and how it works is very seamless. I can get all my chats across all my devices. I can send images, videos, and they are very fast and seamless. Also, what impresses me is your images and videos doesn't reduce quality at all. But then when you send them on WhatsApp, they do reduce quality. And it just doesn't stop there. You can create an iMessage group so that you can put your friends or family who have Apple devices. It's the same thing as WhatsApp group, but then this is even better. Because for me, if everybody uses an iPhone, there's no reason for me to be on WhatsApp. I really like iMessage compared to the WhatsApp, but then you have to use WhatsApp so that you can send messages to other people who are not using Apple devices. So that's what iMessage is about. When it comes to FaceTime is also an Apple platform where you can use to video call or audio call people who are using Apple devices. This is also a very good platform you can use to video call or audio call people who are using Apple devices. It's very seamless, smooth, and reliable. So the iMessage and FaceTime, even though we have all of these features on other social media platforms such as Instagram, I can send you messages, I can call you an audio call, maybe a video call, yeah? But then Apple is different. And if you're using an Apple device, you'll understand what I mean. Apple always do it the Apple way. It's just not normal, it's the Apple way. Now let's talk about privacy and security. You might be, yeah, there's privacy and security in all these other devices, but then Apple emphasized a lot on privacy and security. They made this their priority, making Apple users' personal data well secured. I'm not saying the other Android phones or other operating systems are not very secured, but then it's much easier to hack an Android phone than to hack an iPhone. You all know this because Apple focuses a lot more on privacy and security more than Android do. Next up, AirDrop. AirDrop is a feature that helps you send anything such as images, video, text, notes, documents, or anything like that from one device to another. This works on Apple devices only, so you can send anything from your iPhone to your iPad, anything from your MacBook to your iPad, anything from your iPad to your iPhone. It's very fast, and this transfer method is offline. This is more advanced than using a Bluetooth sharing. Even though an Android user I know told me that they have something called nearby share, something like that on the Samsung. For example, for my workflow, immediately I'm done editing a video, I usually used to upload the video from my iPad sometimes and from my iPhone sometimes. So immediately after editing, saving or exporting this video, I'll just airdrop it to my iPad real quick. I'll airdrop it to my iPhone real quick. Instead of me to go and download Xender, and that's too much work to me because you need to scan to connect, you need to do this and that. So it's just not that reliable than the AirDrop. Because my experience when it comes to the Apple ecosystem, it's really an amazing experience, and a lot of people I know using Apple do have the same amazing experience when it comes to their workflow. I can be editing a document on my MacBook and I can just go to work with my iPad. Immediately I open it, I can have the exact document in my file so that I can proceed with editing it. Same applies to your iPhone and same applies to other Apple devices. Immediately you send me a message, I receive them on all my devices, and I'm the one to choose whether I'm going to reply you on my MacBook or the iPad. Depends on the one I'm using at the time. If I'm working on my MacBook, instead of me to take my iPhone, I can just respond to you using my MacBook or maybe an iPad. And this feature you don't really get on the Android devices or maybe on the Windows devices. You might not get exactly what I mean because you need hands-on experience on these devices and then trying to apply or put these devices to your workflow, and then you'll understand what I mean. For somebody who is using an Android and using a Windows, maybe your life might be going smoothly, but then these are just some features I mentioned on why you should be into the Apple ecosystem. But then there are a lot of features which will make your workflow faster, better, and even easier. So that's basically it for the video. Make sure to think about this again. You can get into the Apple ecosystem. You don't need to get the latest MacBooks. You don't need to get the latest iPads, iPhones, and all that. You can start with small. At first, I had an iPhone, and then I got a Mac, and then I got an iPad, and then another iPhone, and then AirPods, and then the watches, and that's just it. It's not that hard. But if any of my viewers here are into the Apple ecosystem, please, I would like you to leave a comment in this video on your experience using these devices so that the other viewers can understand exactly what I mean. And that's all for the video. Make sure to think about this if you are getting into the Apple ecosystem or if you are sticking to your normal ecosystem. That's all for the video. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll meet you guys on the next one. Peace.